If you think making cheese at home is complicated, here's something you need to know. It does not have to be. After making hundreds of cheeses, including dozens of my own creations, I've distilled cheese making down into 5 simple steps that anyone can understand and master. So in this video, I'm going to show you this method so you can confidently approach any recipe, make it, and then enjoy the cheese you've made. It smells good. Yes! Now, cheese making can feel so overwhelming. And actually, that's the reason I'm in the middle of creating something to make cheese making more accessible. So if you want to know when it's ready, get your name on the wait list. The link is below the video. But as I was saying, when you're first starting out, it can feel like there are so many different methods, options, rules, and there are. But the truth is, the core of cheese making isn't at all complicated. Think of it this way. Just as the richest part of the milk rises to the top when you let it set, over time, the core elements of cheese making have risen to the top for me. I call these foundational steps the cream method. Once you understand these 5 stages of cheese making, you are going to have a clear, flexible framework for making just about any cheese. Learn cream and cheese making will click. Now, before your milk can become cheese, it needs to have the right environment. If you skip or rush this first step, everything that follows becomes a little bit harder. Your curd might not set properly, the texture could be off, or you could end up with unexpected flavors. So think of this step as setting the foundation where you get your milk ready by acidifying it with a culture and then conditioning it with other things if you want. So the C in cream stands for culture and condition. There are 2, maybe 3 parts to this stage of cheese making. Part 1 is you heat the milk. Turns out that most recipes generally start out at around 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So since milk comes out of the cow at 95 degrees and it has only dropped a few degrees by the time it gets to the kitchen, if starting with cow warm milk, there's no need to heat it. Part 2 of this stage is that you add the culture. What is culture? Culture is simply something that you add to the milk to acidify it, develop flavors, and get the good bacteria going. It's your starter culture. There are 2 kinds of cultures. Many people use freeze-dried cultures that they buy from a cheesemaking company and store in the freezer. These look like white granules similar to powdered milk. Then there are natural cultures, and this is what I actually prefer to use because they're, well, more natural, and also because they're tons cheaper, and I think they actually make the cheeses more delicious. Now, here are a few tips for adding cultures to the milk. If you want to reduce the risk of the naughty rogue bacteria that's in the milk, all fresh milk has bad bacteria in it. You can add the culture early, even before the milk has been fully heated to the target temp. If you are using freeze-dried cultures, you want to sprinkle them over the surface of the milk and then let them rest for 2 minutes before stirring them in so that they have time to rehydrate and don't clump in the milk. And then once you've added the culture to the milk, generally you let it rest for about an hour to ripen. In this first C step, there is an optional part, adding any extras that you might want to have in the milk. If you're using pasteurized milk, now's the time to add the calcium chloride. And to be clear, if you are using pasteurized milk, calcium chloride is a non-negotiable. If you want to color your cheese and make it yellow, now's the time to dilute the annatto in a little bit of water and add that to the milk. If you're adding spices to your cheese later and you've boiled them to sterilize them, now you can add the leftover water from boiling them to the milk to give your cheese more flavor. And if you're making a white rind cheese, a blue cheese, or a Swiss cheese, now is the time to add any of the extra molds or bacteria that are going to get you that cheese that you're going for. Now, here's a pro tip. The fastest and laziest way to get through this C step is to use fresh cow warm milk and natural cultures. Add the cultures to the empty pot, then you add the warm milk, and then you go straight to stage 2. No stirring, no ripening time, just boom, move on. Now, once you've completed the C step and your milk is warm and it is conditioned and it is cultured, it is still just milk, full of potential, but it has yet to be transformed. Now comes the moment that changes everything. With just a few drops of one powerful ingredient, the milk is going to set up and gel. This step is the turning point, the part that feels a little bit magical every single time. The milk is coagulated by adding rennet. So the R in cream stands for rennet. What is rennet? It's an enzyme that comes from the 4th stomach of a ruminant, generally a calf or a lamb. There are various types of rennet: microbial, plant-based, animal, and there are different forms of the rennet: liquid, paste, concentrate, pill. I typically use a liquid animal rennet. When you're adding rennet to the milk, here are a couple rules of thumb. If you remember these in no time at all, you're going to feel completely at ease working with this enzyme. It's just going to become another basic kitchen ingredient. Rennet needs to be stored in the fridge. For fresh unprocessed milk or raw milk, it's 1/8 teaspoon of rennet per gallon of milk. But if you're using pasteurized milk, then it is 1/4 1/4 teaspoon per gallon of milk. It's often recommended that it is diluted in a little bit of water before you add it to the milk to make sure it gets all through the milk evenly. Once the rennet begins to coagulate the milk, you do not want to break the set. So only stir it briefly, like 30 seconds, 45 seconds. After you've added the rennet, it usually takes about 30 to 45 minutes for the milk to set. Though if you are using pasteurized milk, it could take a little bit longer. Now there are several ways that you can tell if your milk has set. Stick a knife into the curd and then lift it up. The curd should cleanly break apart. That's where the term clean break comes from. But you can also tell that it has set by wiggling the pot from side to side. The curd will do this little jello wiggle, or by observing if the curd has pulled away from the side of the pot, just a little bit. You can also gently touch the surface with your finger. Your finger should come away wet, but not milky, and then there's going to be a little bit of whey that pools on the surface of the curd where your finger was. This stage of cheese making, the rennet part, feels super magical. Brace yourself for all sorts of warm, fuzzy feelings. So now at this point you have the curd, but it's not cheese yet. So this next stage, your decisions really start to shape the final product. Texture, aging, potential, flavor, it all hinges on what you do right here. It's also where most of the hands-on work happens. This is step 3. The E stands for express or extract. This is where you remove the moisture from the curds and adjust the texture of the cheese. Now, expressing the moisture is primarily done by cutting the curds and then by stirring and cooking. There are dozens of techniques that you can experiment in this stage, but they all come back to a few simple principles. Understand these and you'll be able to tweak recipes with confidence. If you're making a moist cheese, let the curd sit longer before you cut it. Some people refer to this as moisture locking time. Once you've let the curd sit, then you cut it into bigger pieces, or you can simply scoop the curd out of the pot and ladle it into the molds. And that's going to keep a lot of moisture in the final cheese. Now, if you're making a drier cheese, you want to cut the curd sooner, almost as soon as it sets up, and cut it smaller to release more of the moisture. I often use a big balloon whisk or just my hands, because there's no need to make another kitchen utensil dirty, right? Now, the act of stirring the curds helps them to release moisture and prevents them from matting together. As you stir, you will notice that your curds get smaller and smaller because the moisture is leaving. So when you're stirring, stir frequently and use your hand. Using your hand gives you a better feel for how the curds are behaving. So if you're new to cheese making, it's especially important that you use your hands as much as possible. Now, the act of heating the curds also helps them to release their whey. Heat slowly, heat steadily, because if you go too fast, the outside of the curd is going to form a rind and that's going to hold in moisture. And the goal of heating and stirring the curds is that the curds get cooked through evenly. So now, if you're making an aged cheese, here are a few common ways to determine whether or not your curds are done cooking. First, there's the squeeze test, which is where you gently and firmly squeeze a handful of curds. The curds should stick together and make defined dips where your fingers were, and then the blob of cheese should crumble back apart fairly easily. There's another test called bouncing the curd. If you drop the curd from about a foot above a counter space, does the curd splat when it hits? If so, it's not done. If it bounces, if there's a little boop to it, it's done. Also, you can taste the curd and test to see if it squeaks between your teeth. And then the other option is to simply look at the curd. Tear it open and make sure that it is no longer shiny and wet inside like an undercooked egg white. Now, there are a few other cheese making methods that are often included in this stage, but I'm not going to get into all that right now. What you simply need to understand is that the E in cream stands for expressing and extracting the moisture. Now it's time for all the itty bitty curds to come together into a unified wheel of cheese. So step 4 is where the A stands for assemble. This is the moment where you press it into its mold, salt it, and the curds become a cheese that you can actually hold in your hands. To do this when making a cheese, pour off the whey, transfer the curds to the mold, press the cheese, flipping it regularly. And salting is an important part of this 4th step. It can be done either before pressing, by adding salt to the curds while they're still in the whey, or after the whey has been poured off, by simply stirring the salt into the curds. Or you can salt the cheese after pressing, either by dry salting the cheese, by rubbing salt all over the outside of it, or by putting the cheese in a saturated salt brine. Now, it's also in this 4th stage that you can add in any special flavorings like dried herbs or spices. Generally, you do this right before pressing the cheese. So now you've done the hands-on hard work of making a cheese. For most cheeses, up until this point often takes about 5 hours, though only about 2 of them are active work. Now, the next part is the longest step of the whole process, but good news, it's also the least involved, and it's where things get truly exciting. Step 5 stands for mature. Maturing a cheese can take anywhere from a couple weeks to 3 or more years. And if you set it up well, time will reward you beautifully. And you'll end up with a cheese that is rich and complex and so delicious. So what can you do to set up your cheese for success? The first thing you need to do is air dry the cheese before aging. This is to allow a firm rind to form prior to setting it aside to mature. This phase usually lasts anywhere from 2 to 7 days, and during that time you need to flip the cheese daily. Once the cheese has air dried, then you transfer it to a cool, humid aging place to mature. You can let the cheese mature just as it is. That's called a natural rind cheese. Or you can encase it in wax or cloth bandages or plastic to cut back on the mold growth. If you are doing a natural rind with nothing wrapped around the cheese, you can still cut back on the mold growth or control it somewhat by washing the rind with a light salt brine or rubbing it with oil or with spices that have been mixed with oil. Now, when you're ready to eat the cheese, assess it using what I call the PENT method. Approach it with a positive attitude, use your eyes, your nose, your touch, and your taste to assess the cheese. And then you write down notes so that you don't forget what you did and you can learn from experience. So now that you have the cream method to work with, you can get creative. Variations within each of these 5 stages are endless and they are thrilling. Start asking questions and messing around, like, what happens if I take the C out of the equation? Or what happens if I skip the R? Or what if I go the whole way through the process and then crumble up this big ass finished cheese and then circle back to the A stage and reassemble it and press it? What happens? As long as you have the cream framework, you have a solid base from which to ask questions, troubleshoot, and mess around, and then go ye forth and make cheese to infinity and beyond. It's never, ever ending. 2 things. First, don't forget to get your name on the wait list for this resource I'm building. And second, I bet you want to test the cream method by making a cheese now. Am I right? Of course I'm right. So to begin to understand these 5 steps, not only in your mind, but also in your body and in your hands, I recommend that you watch this video next. This cheese is a crowd favorite. It's sweet and it's nutty, but what makes it really special is how quickly it matures. So you can taste the results of your work in just several weeks. So give it a go and happy milk slinging.